are you okay with the starting? Okay. I'd like to welcome all of you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission meeting for November 29th, 2022. This meeting is being recorded, and we're glad to have all of you here. We're going to begin the meeting this evening with an opening prayer by Commissioner Thompson and then a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Showers.
Our dear Heavenly Father, as we come before this evening, we're so grateful for our many blessings, so thankful for this holiday season and the joy we can bring into our lives and our family. We're thankful for our community and the closeness that we have in this community. We ask now at the beginning of the Planning Commission that we may be guided and be open to different inputs and to be able to make the proper choices. We're grateful for all of our many blessings, the opportunity we have to live in Lindon, for our great country, and bless those who are less fortunate than we are, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll begin our meeting this evening with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Jared Showers.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Stephen Johnson is excused. Scott Thompson.
Here.
And Renee Tribe hasn't arrived yet, at least. Okay. And we're glad to have our city attorney here with us, and thank you for being here with us. And all of you.
I'm Sharon.
Okay, we're going to begin our meeting this evening with an approval of the minutes. These are the minutes from November 15th, 2022. And I went through and I didn't see any changes.
Yeah, look good to
Anyone
me as well.
else? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay, Commissioner Tribe is here with us. Okay, the first item on our agenda, this is, well, item number 3, this is a time for public comment. This would be for any items that are not already on the agenda for this evening. Is there anyone here for that purpose? Okay. The next item on our agenda, it's item number 4. This is a miscellaneous application for Smith Sport Court setback modification at 242 East 600 North. Our applicant is Samuel Smith, and Mary Barnes is our presenting staff. If you'll go ahead.
That's great. Thank you so much. So this application is for a sports court setback modification for the Smith property at 242 East, 600 North. The applicant wants to build a pickleball / half-court basketball in the southeast corner of his property with a 10-foot fence. So according to Lindon City Code 17.44.150, outdoor sports courts in the residential zone must maintain a 10-foot setback from rear or side property lines unless the Planning Commission modifies the setback requirement, which according to code you are allowed to do if it meets these requirements. And so I'll go through them real quick. The setback modification is necessary to provide privacy and protection of private property interests. So this setback will not encroach on privacy. It is 32 feet away from the closest home, and then the next closest home is 122 feet away. And it will protect the private property rights of the applicant. Also, one of the conditions, and it's also in the code, is that this sports court lighting will shine away from other properties. So that will also help to provide privacy to the other property owners. And then the second requirement is that the appearance and setback of the fence will not detract or cause aesthetic damage to neighboring property owners. At this time, according to my best knowledge, Mr. Smith has told me that his eastern neighbor has said that they are in favor of this modification, so I don't believe this fence will cause aesthetic damage to their property. So they would be compliant in that requirement as well. The proposed height or setback modification will not cause a public safety hazard. This sports court is going to be next to, like I said, a private property and then a private lane. I'll pull up the aerial, that's gonna be really good. So this is where the sports court is. So here's the private lane, and then here's a private property, so it won't be causing any public safety hazards. Then finally, the proposed additional height is required to cause for a necessary buffer, and there's no height modification being asked here. So in conclusion, staff does feel that this application meets all the requirements needed to have a setback modification from the Planning Commission. And in the conditions, we did, like I said, we added that sport court lighting condition, that sport court lighting will not shine into another's property. And we did also add the condition that the applicant will apply for a building permit for the 10-foot fence. Our building official requires a building permit for every fence over 7 feet tall. So that's why we added that in there, just to make sure everything's taken care of. Any questions on that?
I don't have any. Anyone else?
Pretty straightforward. It looks like a great opportunity to allow a homeowner to fully utilize their property.
Mm-hmm.
And you're adding a pool as well?
Yes.
And that's already been approved by the city.
Are you gonna be okay without your trampoline?
It's already gone.
Oh, okay.
My kids are at the,
Yeah, pool and pickleball court, that's fun.
the pool's more
Yeah.
age appropriate for my
Yeah.
Well, and you've
grandchildren.
you're doing a half basketball court too, did I see that?
Yeah, it's got a half basketball court and a volleyball court and a futsal thing. You just have to draw different lines for all those different sports.
What's the surface you're using?
It's cement
Okay,
with acrylic paint.
yeah. Nice,
Gosh, it sounds really fun.
yeah,
I hope so.
sounds reasonable.
Reason to have the grandkids come visit.
Yeah. I, with, all the conditions, everything you've got set up there, I think I don't have any problem. Does anyone else? Rob, do you have questions? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I would move to approve the applicant's request to modify sports court setback requirement found in 17.44.150 for the property located at 242 East 6th North. With following conditions, the applicant will apply for a building permit for the 10-foot fencing. Sports court lighting will not shine into another property, and all items in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, yeah.
Enjoy.
Sounds like it'll be a fun opportunity.
I'll have a party, you guys can come.
Yeah. Okay, the next item on our agenda, item number 5. This is a minor subdivision approval at Timber Creek Estates, Plat B. And that's at 740 West, 100 South. Our applicant is Lucas Collier. Are you Lucas?
Yes.
Okay. And our presenting staff is Mary Barnes. And even though this, after staff presents and anything additional you'd like to present, even though this isn't a public hearing, I know we've got some public that are interested here, residents, and we will give you an opportunity to make comment. Just ask that you keep your comments brief and, okay? Mary?
All right, yes, thank you so much. So this applicant, like Sharon said, is for a two-lot minor subdivision located at 740 West, 100 South, in the R120 zone. The applicant, Mr. Collier, currently owns the property, which is already currently in a flag lot-esque shape. And he is requesting that the front section of the property, which I will refer to as Lot 18, as shown on this plat here, be subdivided off the remaining section of the property, or Lot 19. So before getting into the history of the property, I wanted to just quickly go over the lot size, the lot size requirements, yeah. So the minimum lot size requirement in this area is 20,000 square feet, which both lots follow the minimum. Both lots also meet the minimum lot width and the minimum public street frontage. However, with the minimum lot depth, Lot 19 does meet that depth requirement, but Lot 18 does not. However, a variance in 1997 was approved by the Lindon Board of Adjustments for this depth. And I will pull up that application right now. Now for a bit more of the history of the property. To my understanding, this front section has been used primarily for like agricultural purposes up until recently. And in 1997, the owners at that time, James and Ann Munson, they did apply for a variance on the depth of Lot 18. You can see, please briefly describe the purpose of the request, variance for minimum depth. With the intention, let me scroll down a little, of subdividing this front section and putting in a cul-de-sac towards a house in the back. Our records of this Board of Adjustment meeting are small. All we have is, can I see this folder, and on the front it reads, approved 5/15/1997. This is all we have, and we've gone through all our archives and the dungeon downstairs and all the meeting minutes we can get our hands on and our drives and everything, and we cannot find meeting minutes for this specific meeting. And this folder has all the materials that are also found in your staff report. I put everything in there. Anyways, the Munsons do specifically state that the purpose of the request, I'll pull up there, this is their document that they turned in with their variance packet. They say the purpose of the request is to ask the Board of Adjustments to approve a variance on the minimum depth of the property from 100 feet to 87 feet 9 inches. The depth varies, the measurement given, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so the purpose of the request is exactly for the depth variance. There is no contingency on the cul-de-sac that I showed in this site plan. This proposed site plan, I should say. After the public notices for the meeting went out, some neighboring property owners did approach staff to say that, according to their recollections, I believe, the lot depth variance was tied or conditioned on the cul-de-sac. However, based on the information that the city has, there is no proof of that. 1 month after variance approval, James Munson did apply and pay for a subdivision application. However, this, showing a cul-de-sac like the one in the variance, just a few more, dimensions. However, this was never approved and it was never brought to the 1997 Planning Commission. There are no records on why this application was not completed. We just have a receipt, an application, and this preliminary plat.
Well, the application wasn't for Planning Commission, it was just an application to the Development Review Committee.
That's true, but it never got to the point where it came in front of the Planning Commission, and we don't exactly know why.
So there was no subdivision approved or denied in terms of,
Right, all
Yeah.
we did was apply to the Development Review Committee, and then that's all the record we have.
and that's why the planning commission never even got involved. It was all done via
Board of
Board of
Adjustments.
Adjustments.
Uh-huh. So yeah, we don't know why it stopped at the development, the DRC. I want to cover a few more things within the staff report. Real quick. There is a discrepancy between some of the fence lines and the property lines that we feel do need to be resolved on both sides of the property. And maybe the applicant can address that a little more later. I'll go over here, I'll pull up this plat.
You go into more detail where those discrepancies are.
Oh, yeah, sure. So those discrepancies that I'm talking about are highlighted in red on this aerial. There's about maybe a 5-foot difference between the fence line and the property line. And right here, there's a 13-foot difference between the fence line and the property line, which gradually gets smaller. It's like a wedge-shaped
So the red's the
discrepancy.
existing fence line, and the white line is the property line.
Yeah.
Are those going off county figures, or it's not being shown by a survey being provided by the?
This is just county
Okay,
records.
This is just county, so they may or may
Yeah.
not be there.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's been no surveys to my knowledge quite yet.
Sorry, I just had it surveyed.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was part of what I submitted for the review.
Oh, okay.
So you have had it.
So this
surveyed,
is
okay.
the survey.
Do you recall whether it
It's consistent with
was
this.
consistent with what the county shows?
Yeah, he said his measurements were, well, he said around 5 or 6 feet on that east property line on the flag lot, and then 13 to 14 feet on that west property line. The east property line will not affect any requirements, any zoning requirements or anything. So that one I've actually already spoken to the new owner. They just purchased it about a month ago. And I've had a discussion with them, and that's ongoing.
Is there already a fence there? I don't recall. There is already a fence there.
It's along the red line.
The fence is along the, let's see here, the fence is along the red line, the white line is the property line.
So the fence is inside of the flag lot property?
Yeah, both fences are within
Yeah.
the subdividing properties.
Yeah.
But you don't have to, you're not gonna have to, are you gonna have to move that fence to qualify for anything here?
The fence line, we have to resolve the west fence line in order to subdivide, because that affects my 20,000 minimum square footage. But the east property line is not gonna affect any zoning requirements. And so they had some plans for their backyard, and I'm in communication with them on a resolution on that line. In the property line, between me and Mr. Nelson, we had a couple of ideas, a couple of thoughts that would likely resolve the discrepancy, so.
Do you have
Awesome.
additional information, Mary?
On the fence line, that's something that city is gonna let the property owners
Work
figure
out.
out together. Yeah, it's a civil matter.
And that's something you're gonna wanna consider, because what the resolution's going to be, because that may affect how the subdivision plat is laid out.
Like Mr. Collier said, if this property line is altered, I don't know what would happen, but if the option arises that the property line is altered to follow the existing fence line, then this 20,007 square feet will be reduced and go under 20,000 square feet. So we'll have to alter the shape of the lot to make sure that 20,000 square foot requirement is met.
Could he pick up what he loses out of the lane?
Yeah, that's what I would have to do.
Yeah.
I wonder too if there's an easement option or opportunity where technically it would still be owned by me, but the fence is in agreement left where it is existing. I don't really know how that works. I've never had to do
Yeah.
that before, but.
When I haven't seen, engineering on it and whatnot, but it looks to me like whatever you lose on the west end, in effect, you could give yourself on the east end.
I could, but I'm already taking some from the east side
Are you?
to get to 20,000. So I was at about 19, I was just over 19,000. And so in order to make this, yeah, so this is the new plan.
Yeah.
You can see how I actually moved that property
Yeah.
line east about 8 feet at the front corner,
I
which
see.
added a sliver.
But it looks like you've still got 52, a little over 52 feet there in the lane. How much is he gonna be required to keep in the lane?
25. He needs at least 25 feet of frontage for a flag lot.
So to me, you could still give yourself some more if you had to.
Yeah, I could if I had to. I'd be kind of bottlenecking the property, and I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd like to avoid that, to be honest.
Well, where it really,
But I know there's
even
a
though it's
resolution. either.
consequential on the west end, it does go to nothing. You could give it up and make it work because I don't think code would allow us to approve a lot substandard below 20,000 square feet in that zone. If it came to that, but then again, there may be other options that you work out with the Nelsons, and that's great too, so.
Is that portion in Nelson's, is that landscaped or already?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So you want me to speak up?
Yeah.
So we're the Nelsons.
No, we'll
Oh.
give your time.
Then we won't speak up now. Mike
Yeah,
nodded
we'll-
his head.
We'll wait just a minute until this is, this presentation is done, and then we'll
We can be
allow some
patient.
public comment. Yeah.
I do feel confident that one way or another, there's a resolution. I'll get to 20,000 square feet regardless. So whether that means I resolve it with Mr. Nelson on the west side or on my east side there where I've got some space. So I was just trying to avoid a bottleneck of the property, to be honest. So.
Okay, Mary, do you have additional information?
Yeah, I'm just going to go over 2 more sections of the staff report, which aren't super exciting, but I'll do it really quick. So about these public utility easements, as you can see on the plat, there isn't a public utility easement on this east side or this southern side of lot 19. That is because of this existing garage, which has been there since, I believe, also 1997. Anyways, technically the flag lot setbacks are 30 feet from this southern line. So technically this garage is within that setback and technically it is non-conforming. However, I only added that into your staff report just in case, one of you probably would have caught it and had to ask a question, but because even though it is a non-conforming building, this application is for a lot, so we didn't require an alteration of a non-conforming use of some sort. And the reason why those public utility easements were taken off is because the garage is already encroaching into those public utility easements, so city engineers felt that it would just make sense to not have them at all. And then finally, this section on flag lot access. So the cul-de-sac that was proposed in the original variance, it is not on the proposed street master plan, and there isn't enough width at this time for a public street, as you can see on this flag lot access section. It says, that flag lots are only permitted when the following 2 circumstances exist. A development using standard public streets is not possible. At this time, that development is not possible. And then development using standard public streets is possible, but not in the best interest of the public. So it's not on the street master plan at this time, which is a plan that is put together by our
cul-de-sac.
engineers for the public. So as of right now, the city doesn't have the means or plans to put a cul-de-sac in. And that's my presentation. Do you have any questions? I'm sure you have lots.
I do have,
Mm-hmm.
when you say the city doesn't have plans to put a cul-de-sac in, it would be the developer.
Yeah, but on our street master plan, we'll have planned streets. So that's what I mean.
Yeah, if a cul-de-sac was built, it'd not be the city's expense.
So
Yeah.
basically, what
It
we
is
would do
part
if
of the
we go
master
with this
plan right
action
now.
is we would have a flag lot with a lane driving up to the house. We would have a front lot. The cul-de-sac is not required because it's just his driveway to the house.
Yes.
Who owns the property there, just to the
West.
Whiteley, maybe?
Right here.
So if that was ever developed, the roadway would have to be dedicated to the city, there would have to be a cul-de-sac built.
Yes.
Which nothing's been built for a flag. There's no sewer main, there's no water main, there's no.
When they developed it, that
Right.
would all have to be put in.
Exactly, it all have to be pulled out.
The road
There's
would
not
have to
the
be
width
widened
to
too.
do that. You need
It's
30
not the
foot.
width right now,
Could be, what's the width of that lane?
Has to be 50, oh, it's,
It's about 46 at the smallest, at the shallowest point, 46 feet, and has to be at least 50 feet for a full local street right-of-way.
so if all the property owners work together, in the future, you could have enough width to put in a public street with a cul-de-sac.
The developer, whoever that would be, would have to put in the utilities and
Mhm.
the infrastructure.
Yes, and I would say that that east property line of the new lot, because we're having to move it in, that becomes a problem with the width of the lane to accommodate that 20,000 square feet. So that's one more thing that would impact the ability to put in a cul-de-sac.
Okay. Do you have any other comments you want to make to us, or shall we take comments from the residents?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, okay, well, appreciate you being here, and
Thanks.
appreciate your comments. Are there some of you that would like to provide input? And we like your comments to be kept brief, and,
They need to come up to the
yeah, we'd
microphone.
like you to come up to the point, yeah. Keep them brief, and if someone's already said the same comments, then we don't need to do those again, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm Dumont Hill, and so I own the Hill Family Trust right there, which is my father's, which is where I was raised.
Okay.
So my concern is that by doing this, we're gonna block off the Whiteley's property because they'll never be able to add anything back there. And I've talked to the Whiteleys about giving up some of my property in the future if need be to actually accommodate that road going back there. Now, a brief history, I tried to buy that whole flag lot L-shaped piece. The city at that time told me I could not build that house back there unless I had 50 feet all the way back there with curb and gutter and blacktop for the whole thing. So at that time, I wasn't able to do all of that, to put that in there. Later on, when Mr. Munson, Phil Brown tried to buy that piece of property, but tried to take some of my property to make that a buildable lot so that he could build his house there, but my father was not willing to give up half of his property to take half of the lot we're talking about there. He didn't want that L shape in his own property, so that never happened. Then Mr. Munson come in there to build the property, to build on the property, and came to me and my father with one of his employees at that time who wanted to buy this lot that we're talking about. But he needed to take 5 or 6 feet of my dad's property in order to make that buildable, and he was talking about putting the cul-de-sac in there at the time, but he needed that property in order to sell it so they could build on it, so he could sell it to his employee. For some reason, that never, of course, I wasn't willing to give that up because it puts kind of a, you can see the road going up alongside the property line along the house there, and didn't want that jot in there, so we told him we weren't willing to give up that piece of property. So the whole thing got kind of dropped. So if this thing was approved in '97, why did he not sell that property to the employee without having to take my property?
I don't know the answer to
So
that.
I'm just saying, okay, so I've tried to buy that piece of property, every person who has purchased it after that, and every one of them have told me they could not sell that piece of property. And Munson in the beginning, I think had something to do with the frontage in order to build his house back there. You had to have the 100-foot frontage, something to do with that. Now, since then, the flag lot, stuff has changed. So, I'm just in a situation where everybody who's owned that property told me the city would not allow them to sell that separate from the property. And really, with me owning that other piece of property, it's not a problem, you know, for me to have bought it at that time, because I would have had all the land that I needed. So I don't understand why all of a sudden, after multiple people have owned this property and told me they couldn't, the city told them they couldn't sell it, and then they also said that they had to have some of my property to build on it. Now all of a sudden we're saying that there's a variance back in '97 when Munson built that house back there that made it, that approved it. That doesn't make any sense to me, because the whole thing got dropped. My question is, did they really hold the planning meeting to give that okay? Because they don't have records of them holding that meeting, correct?
We don't
To
have the
give
minutes.
approval on that.
We don't have the minutes, but we do have a note that it says approved.
And you have one little piece of paper at the very end that has one little line that says that it was approved. There's nothing tying that to the application other than a small little word section that says something about the front page or something on it. So there's no page numbers, there's no city letterhead, there's no signatures. The other thing is everybody, the surrounding people's name are on the notice, have signed that except for my father. He is the one property that made all the difference in the world with that piece of property. Why is his name not on that? So another question comes up, did they really hold the meeting to approve that property? Because we wouldn't give up the property, so I'm thinking Mr. Munson just dropped the whole thing. Because I never heard another thing after that. And after all these times of looking through this, now all of a sudden the city finds one piece of paper that says that it was approved. And that's the only thing they can find that says anything about it.
Approved what? Approved the flag?
Supposedly
The
approved a
cul-de-sac.
variance on that property back in '97, yeah.
The variance, the depth
The va-
variance on that
depth of the
front
variance.
lot.
This folder. Mm-hmm.
So it went back.
Well,
far
and
enough.
it seems, and some of what DeMont's saying it kind of makes sense, but on the other hand, it obviously was approved to me, or they wouldn't have granted a building permit to build a home there on a flag lot. But that's, this is interesting.
But the variance Mr. Munson was trying to get was on that same piece of property Mr. Collier's, talking about. And that's what all that,
So,
supposedly
what were
approved.
all these neighbors, what's that letter saying that they're all
that they're gonna have a meeting for this variance.
I see.
But my father's name is not on that. Because we had a meeting with Mr. Munson and told him we would not give him our property because he said he had to have that in order to be able to build on that.
Yeah, maybe you really didn't, because
So-
they approved it shallow.
But did they approve it? Why is there one piece of paper with no identification? It just seems a little strange. And after all these years of going through this with every single person, now all of a sudden the city has found one piece of paper that says that it was approved back in '97 when they very first built the property.
Is this the
It
piece
just
of
seems
paper,
a little-
Demont? Is
I
this the-
understand.
Is this it, Demont, this little
Yeah.
note here?
No, that,
What I read is that that's Barry just saying it's on the folder, that's what's on the folder, right? Yeah,
Front
that's what
cover
that-
reads approved
I got you,
515.
I got you.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Are there others? Thank you so much.
So just to
That's
clarify,
very
you don't want him to be able to subdivide and get a new lot 18? Is that what you're
well,
saying after all
I
of what you
guess I really
said?
don't care so much that he subdivides there, but I hate to see the Whiteley's property get blocked
Okay.
off from
I'm
any
just trying to understand where
future
you,
stuff with that whole
what
thing.
your position is on it.
And
so-
I-
And my
okay.
position is I'm a longtime resident. I'd like to see,
And I agree,
lot sizes
I
kept
agree with
and-
you there too, Demont, except that it was kind of cast in stone in 90 whatever, when that flag lot was approved. To me, unless y'all get your heads together, there's not gonna be a cul-de-sac there.
right. Right.
And, I don't know how much you guys have worked together with Mr. Collier, but you kind of would, if you wanted it to turn into a cul-de-sac, full development purposes to create lots back in the back there, That's a whole nother animal than what's
Yeah.
being
And what's
Right.
being
Yeah.
proposed tonight.
proposed.
And I understand that, I just,
Yeah.
look at the future and what Mr. Munson started to do, which I, at that time, had agreed to give up property
Okay.
to allow that to happen, and then it never happened, all of a sudden he dropped it,
Yeah.
for
Well,
whatever
and it
reason,
sounds
he
like
dropped the whole thing.
If everybody was to scrap everything and go back, and Mr. Collier was agreeable to go to the cul-de-sac idea, y'all would be giving up some property, even Mr. Whiteley, cause there's not enough width back there once you go past your property line. There wouldn't be enough width for the cul-de-sac either there without cutting into Mr. Whiteley's property. And everybody figuring out whose expense that is to go from a lane to a full-blown street with full-blown improvements.
Yeah, and we don't know if, I mean,
It's
this
not
cul-de-sac was drawn in 1997, June 1997. So, I mean, the engineers haven't reviewed it to see
Yeah.
if it would meet requirements
Yeah,
even.
Okay, are there others? Could we go ahead and hear from some others? Thank you so much for your comments. And your name, sir?
I'm Wayne Whiteley.
Okay,
I'm the owner of the acre property that would essentially be landlocked for the future if this was approved. My understanding is talking to DeMont that he would be interested in purchasing the front piece of property as well and going through some arrangement with the property to give access to the cul-de-sac to go in. I did want to shed a little bit of light on, at the time when Munson's was trying to do the building permit, that was the only way that he could have another piece of property to sell, was to put in the cul-de-sac at the time. And the variance, I mean, he had the acreage and he had the frontage, right, that the city required. And we keep using the term that it was built on a flag lot. There was no flag lots back then in 1997. So he had the acreage and he was, I think, able to build his house wherever he wanted, but it required the front piece of ground. We haven't, Lucas and I haven't had any discussions about developing it. And it seems like the spirit of the flag lot code now is to, when nothing else could be done, or there are other reasons why you can't put in a subdivision, and it seems like the best use of the property would be able to make a cul-de-sac so that future property could be sold as a building lot or something like that. So, I mean, we haven't had any opportunity to talk about that. I know DeMont would be interested in purchasing the front and giving up some ground so that we could do that. I mean, is there an opportunity to, I mean, I was just notified of the meeting, and so we really haven't had any chance to look into any other development options. And I'm not even sure whether Lucas is interested in that as well, but
well, appreciate your comments on that.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
But just to clarify too, there's no legal access to your property, right? Am I missing something right now? Your property is landlocked.
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, okay, because you made it sound like it's sort of your use of that property or your ability to further develop it would be dependent on us not approving this subdivision. I thought I heard that's what you said, but
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes the opportunity for sure away to
No.
be able to do that.
well, where else would somebody access
Yeah,
that
how
property? They'd
else
have to
would access?
negotiate, they'd have to buy some sort of strip of property for him to access it.
So,
He's gonna access it through the future cul-de-sac, which will become, right now, it's a lane,
Yeah,
but if he wants to develop it and they can come to agreement, the lane becomes a road.
the lane will have to be improved to become a road, yeah.
Right,
But that,
but there's a lot of things that would have to happen for us.
yeah.
So
They
he's
just
got a
happen-
landlocked
they
piece of
happen
property.
in the future rather than now. Either way.
and from what I understand, as far as that subdivision being approved by us, that doesn't necessarily mean that that road could not be put in by
If once a home,
future developers.
yeah, no,
and-
once a home, Sharon, gets built on that lot,
Right.
then somebody's gonna be tearing a house out. Like if I wanted to develop Wayne's property, I'd buy one of the houses in front of the property, tear a house out and pop me a cul-de-sac back on the back of his property. Well, that's the same situation you'd have here right now. Once a home's built there, there's not gonna be room to, it sounds to me like with the lines that need to be moved to get a legal street and turn it in, it has to be
No,
worked out now.
I,
Yeah, it could, oh, yeah, you're a developer too, you can see,
I think that was built with that in mind. It meets the setbacks, I think, from the cul-de-sac,
you know what?
according to.
I'm gonna ask our
I don't
city
see it
planner.
being the ability to be a cul-de-sac right now, the way the property lines are drawn. There's no way it would meet a legal cul-de-sac.
But if this lot is
You need
not-
50 feet minimum for just the road.
Right, yeah, I mean,
There is, and next down,
Piedmont would have to be willing,
people are gonna have to
Yeah.
get involved
Yeah.
and start exchanging properties and
The narrow
that sort of
point
thing.
is not right with the street though.
No,
It's up.
yeah.
but you need to maintain that legal
Right.
street width all the way
So
back to the
all that would
cul-de-sac.
have to be done is that the house that's, I don't have a pointer here, but the house that's, on the street, to the right there, you put your cursor on it,
The one,
where.
the west lot line was right there.
Right there.
Son?
He just changes his lot line from his back of his house up to the corner a little bit, and he's got a lane, or he's
Yeah.
got a 50 feet.
Yeah, but now you're bringing a third property owner involved.
Right.
What motivation does that third property owner have to even get involved in this?
So he just sell a few.
Well, yeah, when people are willing to pay for what they want,
And then
then
that becomes a cul-de-sac.
Well, I'm
and
gonna
Mr.
ask,
Whiteley has
I'm
that
gonna
on
ask,
his property.
Mike Florence, because you explained that to me this morning, how that lot could be you know, could be approved as a part of the subdivision.
Yeah, it could be, it all depends on that west lot line, how that's going to be affected. And then that'll determine how much, because right now you've got 52 feet for the lane
Mm-hmm.
at 100 South. And
Right.
so depending on how much, what that lot line does, that west lot line, could affect the width of that at the front. On 100 South, and so, but, you know, if you had 50 feet at the front, if you purchased some of the Hills property later on, you could put a cul-de-sac back
Yeah.
there. It all depends, like, Commissioner Marchbank said, everybody working together, the desire of everybody, so there's possibilities to develop in the future.
And as far as that front piece, that's the, you know, part of the big discussion right now, from what I understand, you would have to get a variance as far as for setbacks and that type of thing to build a home on there.
If you built one, so right now, you know, with that lot being 87 feet in depth, 87 to 99,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a 30-foot front yard, a 30-foot rear yard requirement. So at a minimum, you've got a 27-foot wide home. If you wanted to go wider than that, then a variance would need to be requested in the future.
As far as maybe for
For
the rear
backyard
setback.
setbacks or something.
If you put a cul-de-sac in, does that make it a
Excuse me,
corner lot?
sir, what is your name?
I'm Eric Nelson, but if you put a cul-de-sac in, does that make lot 18 a corner lot?
Yeah, it would.
Yes.
So then you have two fronts.
You'd
so
have
you
some
could get away from
opportunity,
stuff.
you'd have some other
So
setback.
there's an
opportunities.
advantage to you there, Lucas, if you put the subdivision in, because now you have a corner lot, so you get some other, you could build a different kind of house. That's cool, that's a cool feature if we pull that off, I guess, for Wayne, right, Wayne?
Well, I mean, it would have to
Okay, are there
benefit
others that
Lucas
would,
as well, but,
were there
you know, I
others
mean,
that would like to make comment? Okay. Thank you for your comments, we appreciate those. And your name?
Diane Campbell, and I'm a
Okay.
neighbor, but I'm
don't have, I just have a question.
Okay.
How does that landlock Whiteley's property? Wouldn't he have access from 800?
Yeah, but he'd have to take one of the homes out.
There's land.
He'd have to take a home out over there to get a road width to
Okay.
get back there.
Just a question, I
Yeah.
just
Okay.
wondered. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Anyone else?
Joy and I have something to say. You wanna talk? You wanna-
Okay.
So we're the Nelsons. We've been here about 30 years. So we know some of you on the commissioner, the commissioner leases. So thank you for taking a few minutes here. We've loved our time in Lindon. We came in, it was a little bit of country, right? When we moved in across the street from us, it was just fields. We used to watch the pheasants drop in, right? That was really cool. Then they built the houses. We like all our neighbors, so we take the neighbors over the pheasants, I guess. But anyway, so I bought the house from Garth Gilman. To that piece of, that lot 18 that we're talking about was owned by Paul Liston, who lives on used to live on the corner there. And there was just an existing fence there, so I talked to both of them when I bought the house, and they said, yep, that fence is the fence line. So a few years later, we put in a little bit better fence because our dogs kept getting out and causing the neighbors trouble. Sorry, Wayne, my huskies killed a couple of his pets, and I feel bad about that still, but it happened, so we put the fence in to protect the neighbors' stuff. Anyway, so we are very much in favor of helping our neighbors succeed here, so we're glad to see that lot improve since Mr. Lucas Collier wants to improve it. We're totally good with that. We'd like to help the Hills out since they want to own that. Maybe you guys can work that out. And we'd like to see the Whiteleys get the cul-de-sac, sell that property back there. Mike was telling me a corner lot around the corner from us just sold for $400,000 last week, just this little teeny wedge. My goodness, that's crazy. So that's unbelievable. So Lucas came over to my house earlier today, just before this meeting. We just started chatting. So I think the two of us can kind of work out that. But I had some questions for you guys. So if we don't move the fence, let's say Lucas and I agree not to move the fence, we come up with some kind of an agreement. Mike calls it I don't know, what was that, Mike, you were telling me about last night?
Fence line agreement.
A fence line agreement. If we came up with an agreement that we keep the fence in the same spot, are you guys, is that gonna, but he still owns enough land so he's got his square footage, are you guys okay with that? If we decided to do that, I'm not, this is,
Cross easement or something like that.
But then have to create a cross easement if they said, hey, we'll do a fence line agreement, but neither one of us have any intention of moving the fence. Is there a way to do that or no?
Sure.
Is that,
That's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
You can.
Give each other
As a
any,
property owner, you can give easements as you.
that's kind of what I was thinking,
We
but I
probably
wasn't
wanna see
sure.
something recorded and then a note on the
Yeah.
subdivision
Right.
plat.
Yeah, it would.
Right.
we can document it better than the last document.
That wouldn't be hard.
well, that's what I wondered, if there wasn't some, the legal
So
tracking
Joy and
that
I'll
has
work
to
that
be
out with
done.
Lucas and his wife. We'll figure that out. We don't want to
Okay.
block their effort to improve this piece of land. We hope that Demont and Lucas will talk about whether the Hills can purchase that lot. I don't know what will work out between them. That would be nice if they could.
Okay.
And again, we're in favor of the cul-de-sac just because that's something Wayne's been looking for a bunch of years.
Okay, if you'll address
So,
the commission,
Yeah, well, I'm talking to the
Yeah.
neighbors as much, so anyway, so if we work that out, if Lucas and I work that out, then, we'll sort that out. You guys will still allow that lot to be built on. We're good here, Mike, I'm good. Rob, you guys are,
well,
that'll all work?
like we were saying though, for that to be, for a home to be built on that lot, there's gonna have to be some variances and things like
Okay.
that that'll have to happen. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
different
still
things
gonna
that
have to
would
go through
happen.
engineering and whatnot, but
Okay,
if you guys were on the same page, it would solve one of the problems.
great. Now I need to turn the time over to my wife. This is the age of women, of course.
So my question is what's gonna be built there? Is this for rental property? Is this for someone to buy a house there? Just so we know what we're,
It's zoned
coming
for
up into our
residential, I think.
neighborhood.
It's zoned single-family residential right now. So at this time, it would just be a single-family home.
Do you have any idea how deep your house is? How
I should know
you know what I'm
that.
saying, the depth of it? Because like we were talking about, the building envelope on this would,
Yeah.
be like
Well,
a 27
I worked
foot
with
dip.
Mary, my friend from Australia last week, or last year, and some other folks to kind of sort that out. Since we're on the corner, we've got the corner lot, so we get the, we're gonna put an addition to our kitchen back there. Anyway, so we're gonna go right up against the fence, whatever's
It's
allowed.
to designate some different areas for yards.
Ye-
I just was curious, because 27 feet deep seems really shallow
is.
for
Yeah,
a nice house on a lot that's potentially worth, you know.
I'm sure Mr.
That's
Collier's
what I'm
aware that he's
Yeah.
gotta be very, very ingenuitive to figure out a good plan for that building envelope if you were to do it that way.
You know what, my house is like 34 feet deep. The house that's
Yeah.
on the flag lot.
Is that-
So it's not as outlandish as.
As it
everyone
looks
might
on
think.
paper.
Well, you can go up to and down. You
That's
don't
true.
have to-
The difference is,
Be a
there's
ramble.
elevations, right? My garage sits out further than the front porch does, and that's the main difference. But
Okay. Well, I think we,
So just to confirm that, so Mary, will the notes show here that we can sort this out with a, whatever you call it, a boundary line agreement?
Yeah,
Will
I
those
think,
show that?
I think what we'd do is we'd wait for the boundary line agreement to go through, right, Mike?
So it would be a boundary line agreement.
Sorry, fence line agreement.
I think we need to just work those out with staff. What we're here tonight is to approve the subdivision, but we can work out the process with staff and the residents.
so we can go ahead with that action without, and still let these other things happen afterward? So there isn't a reason,
We made it a condition of approval that if that line changes at all, that changes the plat, it needs to come back to you.
okay, that's a condition of approval.
And the reason why he
Really
might,
doesn't close any
one
options.
of the people need to,
It's available.
because it
It's
makes.
just
it
whether
makes
whether the
bigger
other
for
property
that,
owners
but
can work things out or not.
It's expensive.
Okay,
Well, thanks, you guys.
thank you.
I actually have something to say in all of this. So I don't live, I'm not an adjacent neighbor, but I'm in the neighborhood. So it sounds to me like, because Munson or somebody 25 years ago drew a little cul-de-sac on there that was not ever approved, that just because that was his idea in his mind 25 years ago, we're wondering if we can move forward today.
Not on the cul-de-sac.
I mean, I'm just like,
It doesn't have anything
No.
to do with.
No,
yeah, I'm just like, we
The
don't,
only thing we're talking about today
Is
is whether
just
we
that
can
lot.
approve the subdivision.
right, okay. I'm like,
Right.
it didn't happen for 25 years, why are we still talking about that?
No, we're,
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about
we're
just
just
sitting here.
receiving input from the neighbors. But
Okay,
as
okay.
far as any action today, the only thing we would do would be to approve
that
the
it could be
subdivision.
separated off.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and once it's been separated off, if all the neighbors wanted to get together and drop some new lines and come back with some new lines, they can do that. But you're not gonna hold off on this because of some guy's idea. We don't even know if he's still alive. I've never even heard of him. Had an idea 25 years ago. We're not gonna hold off moving forward because of that. I'm just wondering.
I think we should
We don't
definitely be
have to.
respectful of the Whiteleys, because it's been something that's obviously been discussed. This hasn't been done in a corner. This wasn't, the Munsons just didn't slip this into the notes there. This was a discussion about a cul-de-sac. It was clearly discussed,
25 years ago.
Right,
which is
right.
a lot of planning time.
But the application that we're considering is
For the
in
lot,
black and
lot
white.
18.
Yeah, yeah, right, okay. I'm just like, whoa, you know, I have to go back in all the records to see if I ever wanted to do anything because somebody had an idea. All right, I'm just like, you know, okay, that's all.
Okay. I think we've taken the public comment. We'll bring the discussion back up to the commission. So as far as the action on this tonight, do you want to go ahead with the motion, or do you want to continue it, or what do you want
Lot
to do?
18 is would be a non-conforming lot, right? Am I understanding that correctly? Because it's not 100 feet deep. Isn't that one of the requirements?
Well,
It is, but that's where the variance was given.
that's why a variance was granted supposedly back in 99 or
1997.
7, whatever, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. It seems like nowadays with other cities, they grant something and if they if they don't go through the subdivision process, that expires, that approval expires.
Variances, they're special according to state law. They run with the land, with all the property owners. Brian explained it as a bundle of sticks. When you have a property, you have a bundle of sticks, and a variance is added to that, and that stick cannot be taken away.
Okay.
And it stays with that property.
But you're correct in that in our city code, we have requirements that if a plat is approved and not recorded within a year,
Right.
that expires.
That's been my
Oh,
experience.
that's what
Or
you're
site
saying.
plan approvals or things like that, yes, but the variance doesn't.
It goes with the property.
And that makes sense. I have one question in that I obviously wasn't paying attention what was going on in 1997 and whatnot, but is this really the first flag lot that was ever built in Lindon? I can't believe that.
So the flag lot ordinance came in effect in '99.
I see.
And so they needed that frontage and everything to build that home in the back to meet the city codes at that time. But then in '99, we adopted a flag lot.
So the flag lot ordinance has been in case for that many years.
Yeah, but he already
Because
had
we've
his-
been approving them even the 10 or 12 years I've been on, so.
Flag lot 1995.
Well, that's true, you're on a flag lot.
So I'm gonna just ask our city attorney if there's anything else we need to be aware of on this,
No, I
or,
think it's been a very good discussion, and I think you guys understand it pretty well.
right,
Just, you know, I know there were some questions about, did this meeting ever happen? The records that we have are city records. Yeah, they're not complete, but what we do have is very clear, and it's what we call prima facie evidence that the variance was granted. And for us to say that, well, I don't remember that meeting, and the fact that the minutes are missing, that's not great. But we would have to have evidence that is what's called clear and convincing evidence that that meeting did not take place. There's a presumption that it did because we have city records recording it, we had the notice. So as from my perspective, from the legal perspective, this variance was granted, and you know, and there's really no debating that at this point.
okay.
Then that suggests to me that it's a legal subdivision and we need to be moving forward with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying as far as our actions tonight, and as far as neighbors working together to make adjustments to properties and things like that, so a cul-de-sac could be put in and land isn't locked and those kind of things, that can still happen even after this action's taken tonight. So, anyone else have any other discussion? Mike, do you have anything else? This mic, or that mic?
Oh.
Okay, because I know you're real familiar with those properties
Yeah,
down
I
there.
don't have the history clear back to 97 on that particular piece, but I know that,
Okay.
yeah.
Are we ready for a motion? Jared, how about you?
Yeah, I can make that motion, just as a comment, by making this motion, and I'm going to suggest that we approve it, you know, I feel for this
Right.
landlocked piece of property, because from the standpoint that it would be nice to have more good building lots here in Lindon. You know, I'm not trying to play, you know, have sort of some sympathy, I guess, for the owner,
Right.
but the fact that I think it would be a benefit to that area to have that cul-de-sac in there, perhaps if it could work with engineering and create a couple of nice lots here in Lindon, but I don't see any reason why we would hold this gentleman up on his application to
And I
subdivide this
don't
lot.
think our actions tonight would prevent that.
I don't think it does, I just think and I don't think the city would, but if the city said, well, our leverage to not approve the subdivision is that you need to work with this guy, and now that, you know, we've given him this approval, he doesn't have the motivation maybe to be more workable with the neighbors to produce a subdivision that works for all the neighbors. But anyway, so I just want to make that comment, but I'll make the motion. I move to approve the applicant's request for a minor subdivision approval located at 740 West, 100 South, with the following conditions. One, the applicant will continue to work with the city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering documents and plat. Two, complete or post an adequate improvement completion assurance, warrant and post-required assurance for all required public infrastructure improvements. Three, prior to plat recording, the applicant will update the final plat Mylar to include notarized signatures of owner's consent to dedication and obtain signatures of all entities indicated on the subdivision plat attached here too. Four, the plans and plat will meet and be constructed as per applicable specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. Five, if the lot lines are modified from the presented plat, that the plat be brought back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. And six, all items of the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and I would hope the same thing. I hope that property owners could work together so that it could benefit.
It's
You know,
really as
benefit
simple,
everyone.
having been a developer for 35 years, it's as simple as talking to each other and getting your checkbooks out. It's that simple. Well, it starts with, and then writing some checks.
Okay, and like one of these conditions indicates that if the lot lines are modified, then that plat has to be brought back to the Planning Commission for approval. So, and you can work with city staff on that to work that through. Okay? And thank you to all of you for being here and for your interest and for working together on situations like this. And thank you for being here. Good to see you.
Yeah, you got it.
Is the meeting adjourned then? Are you guys still working?
No, we're
Well,
still.
we're still working for a few more minutes.
I just have a few more things.
You need to go.
Yeah, that's fine.
You got it. Oh, remember to RSVP for the Christmas party before the 1st, if you're going. Uh-huh.
Mary, remind me, that's on the 20th, right?
It's on the 20th. I think it's at 6 or 7. It's at the community
Yeah,
center again.
I already had a party on that night, so don't expect me to RSVP.
You got it. That's all good. Mike had to duck out. Sorry about that. But I just wanted to go over a few of the upcoming applications. Mike mentioned them last time, but I'll just mention them again. So we have another flag lot minor subdivision. It'll be a little less controversial, hopefully. It'll be at around Hollow Park. And then the Colts Neck, what's his name, Tim Clyde application. He resubmitted a second review, and so we're getting ready to, hopefully next Planning Commission meeting, he'll come before. Have you guys seen his property recently?
No.
The 400 North piece? What, is he?
Weeds out.
Yeah, he's pulled his weeds out.
Grubbing.
He's cleaning it up, which is really good.
So that's really exciting, you know.
I thought we were gonna have him come back. Was he coming back?
Yeah, he's going to be coming in for site plan approval, either next Planning Commission or the next. I
What's
think
he gonna do?
he's
Approval for what?
he's getting approval because that property, it was rezoned to be commercial,
Okay.
and every commercial property that has a commercial use on it and it's something new, it has to have a site plan approval. He hasn't put up any of the. I mean, you know how there's a 7-foot required fence next to a residential use, and it's not improved. It doesn't have asphalt. It's like a dirt area. It hasn't been landscaped, that kind of thing. So he's using it actively for storage for his current business. He got it rezoned on the assumption on our part that he would improve the property, and it's taken, I don't even know how many years, maybe 5. It might be more.
Quite a while.
Yeah, it's been quite a few years since that rezone happened. So this is him keeping his promise to us. We might also have that Sunrise Warehouse Park, which is the warehouse building behind 200 South, over there. And then we may also have the training room, which is that gym on 700 North.
700 North, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let me look up what day the next Planning Commission meeting
Probably
is.
the 13th.
13th December.
It's a 13th. Okay, that's great.
So,
And I think that's
after that, not again till
yeah,
January.
that's the only one till January. Which
Great.
should be awesome.
and then the Christmas party
The
is on the
20th, so
20th.
maybe we need to RSVP for that.
Yes. Did you get the email from
Yes.
Alicia? Okay,
Yes.
that's great. I think I heard rumors that the entertainment is going to be a hypnotist.
Oh, my goodness.
wow.
So that's kind of fun.
Glad I'm not going.
Oh, come on, Mike. You would be amazing.
We're volunteering Marchbank. So.
Yeah, of
Are
course.
you gonna go?
No, I already had a big company party planned
Oh,
for
do
the
you?
20th, so I was sad when I seen him
Yeah,
change the day.
Okay, are there any other, from commissioners, anything else you wanted to bring up tonight? No, okay. And as far as anything else from city staff?
No, I think that would be it.
Except that we are supposed to get our little,
Oh, your
videos
training.
watched. and
Uh-huh,
that
your
kind of thing
training's
that- For
done.
the training?
Yeah, I can check to see.
And you have to do that by December 31?
Yeah,
Okay.
just do
I
that by
already
the end
did
of the
mine.
year.
So.
Yeah.
Now, tell me again the one that all of us have to watch.
It's the powers and duties video
I've got to do that.
from the League of City and Towns ULC. We can send that out again. if
Hey,
that would
send
be
it out
helpful.
again, cause
Okay.
I haven't done the required video.
Well,
I've got
there's
all the
several,
other
there's
hours.
several.
For the
that we ha-
reminders.
If you,
Yeah, I got
yeah,
all the
there's-
other hours.
yeah, you've got all the other
Yeah, I
hours.
got more than enough other hours.
Yeah, okay,
Attendance.
yeah,
That too.
yeah. I just haven't watched this powers and duties video. Okay,
It's about an hour and it's not too bad.
No, it's interesting.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
And once we watch it, we just send you an email that
Yeah.
we've completed the
did.
And we
video.
have a spreadsheet and we'll just take
I
it
wish all
off.
my other continuing ed was that.
Yeah, yeah. Sit
Would be
down and
nice.
go to a Couple of day-long
Yeah.
conferences. Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much. You really had a lot of work into tonight.
thank you. Glad it went good.
Yeah, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And thank you for you being here with us. Yeah.